Hello, friends. A warm, loving welcome to our very own channel, Ammu&You, where I am always ready to narrate short stories to all of you. I love reading stories and I love even more narrating them. Today, the story that I have for you is a beautiful story written by O. Henry, The Last Leaf. It tells us that how our thoughts dictate our actions and how the thoughts are what actually matters and can make us do whatever we wish to. So, The Last Leaf by O. Henry. In a little district west of Washington Square was a quaint little old Greenwich village where the art people lived, and many of them were still wanting to settle down there, hunting for north windows, 18th century gables, Dutch attics, and low rents. Low rents was the chief attraction of that place. At the top of a squatty 3-story brick, Sue and Johnsy had their studio. Johnsy was familiar for Joanna. One was from Maine and the other was from California. They had met some time back and found their tastes in art, chicory salads, and bishop's leaves so congenial that the joint studio resulted. Now it was in May that they had met, and now it was good 4-5 months in November. They had become good friends. But unfortunately, in the month of November, a cold, unseen stranger, whom the doctors called pneumonia, stalked about the colony, touching one here and there with icy fingers. It started its ravage boldly, and the number of victims kept rising by scores. But his feet trod slowly through the maze of the narrow and moss-green places. Johnsy lay scarcely moving, down with pneumonia. She lay on her painted iron bedstead, looking through the small Dutch window panes at the blank side of the next brick house. One morning, the busy doctor invited Sue into the hallway with a shaggy gray eyebrow. She has one chance in, let us say 10, he said, as he shook down the mercury in his clinical thermometer. And that chance is for her to want to live. She seems to have stopped wanting to live. Your little lady has made up her mind that she's not going to get well. Has she anything on her mind? He told Sue. She wanted to paint the Bay of Naples someday, said Sue. Paint? Bosh! Has she anything on her mind worth thinking twice? A man, for instance? A man, said Sue, with a Jew's harp twang in her voice. Is a man worth? But no, doctor, there's nothing of the kind. Well, it is just the weakness then. I will do what all science can do. But whenever my patient begins to count the carriages in her funeral procession, I subtract 50% from the curative power of medicines. And that's a fact. The moment the patient decides that she or he is going to die, the medicines also lose their efficacy. After the doctor had gone, Sue went into the workroom and cried a Japanese napkin to a pulp. She was shaken up by the news given by the doctor that Johnsy did not want to live and probably was having quite thin chances to be cured. Then she swaggered into Johnsy's room with her drawing board, whistling ragtime. Johnsy lay there, scarcely making a ripple under the bedclothes, with her face turned towards the window. Sue stopped whistling, thinking she was asleep and that she might disturb her. She arranged her board and began a pen and ink drawing to illustrate a magazine story. Young artists must pave their way to art by drawing pictures for magazine stories that young authors write to pave their way to literature. As Sue was sketching a pair of elegant horseshoe riding trousers and a monocle of the figure of the hero, an Idaho cowboy, she heard a low sound, several times repeated. She went quickly to the bedside. Johnsy's eyes were wide open. She was looking out of the window, counting backwards. 12, 11, 9, then 8 and 7, almost together in a feeble voice. There was only a bare, dreary yard to be seen. Sue looked out, and there was a blank sight of the brick house 20 feet away. An old ivy vine, gnarled and decayed at the roots, climbed halfway up the brick wall. The cold breath of autumn had stricken its leaves from the vine until its skeleton branches clung almost bare to the crumbling bricks. "What is it, dear?" asked Sue. "6," said Johnsy in almost a whisper. "They're falling faster now. 3 days ago, there were almost 100. It made my head ache to count them. But now it's easy. There goes another one. There are only 5 left now." "5 what, dear? Tell your Sudie." "Leaves on the ivy vine. When the last one falls, I must go too. I've known that for 3 days. Didn't the doctor tell you?" "Oh, I've never heard of such nonsense," complained Sue with magnificent scorn. "What have old ivy leaves to do with your getting well? And you used to love that wine, so you naughty girl. Don't be a goosey." "Why, the doctor told me this morning that your chances for getting well are really pretty high." "There goes another," said Johnsy. "That leaves just 4. I want to see the last one fall before it gets dark. Then I'll go too. Johnsy dear, I'll get the chicken broth now for you. Will you promise me to keep your eyes closed and not look out of the window until I'm done working? I must hand these drawings in by tomorrow. I need the light, or I should draw the shade down." "Couldn't you draw in the other room?" asked Johnsy coldly. "I'd rather be here with you," said Sue. "Besides, I don't want you to keep looking at those silly ivy leaves." "Tell me as soon as you have finished," said Johnsy, closing her eyes and lying white and still as a fallen statue. "Because I want to see the last one fall. I'm tired of waiting. I'm tired of thinking. I want to turn loose my hold on everything and go sailing down, down, just like one of those poor, tired leaves. Try to sleep, said Sue. I must call Behrmen up to be my model for the old hermit miner. I'll not be gone a minute. Don't try to move till I'm back, sweetie. Old Behrmen was a painter who lived on the ground floor beneath them. He was past 60 and had a Michelangelo's Moses beard curling down from the head of a satyr along with the body of an imp. Behrmen was a failure in art. He always had wanted to paint a masterpiece, but had never yet begun. He earned a little by serving as a model to young artists in the colony. Sue found Behrmen smelling strongly of juniper berries in his dimly lighted den below. She told him that could he come up to pose for the model. She told him also of Johnsy's fancy and how she feared she would, indeed, light and fragile as a leaf herself, float away when her slight hold upon the world grew weaker. "Was," he cried, "is there people in the world might their foolishness to die because leaves they drop off from a confounded wine? I have not heard of such a thing. No, I will not pose as a model for your fool hermit dunderhead. Why do you allow such silliness to come in her brain?" "She is very ill and weak," said Sue, "and the fever has left her mind morbid and full of strange ideas." "Very well, Mr. Behrmen, if you do not care to pose for me, you needn't." "Who said I will not pose? Go on. I'm coming with you. For half an hour, I have been trying to say that I'm ready to pose. This is not any place in which one so good as Miss Johnsy shall lie sick. Someday I will paint a masterpiece and you shall go all away." Johnsy was sleeping when they went upstairs. Sue pulled the shade down to the windowsill and motioned Behrmen into the other room. They peered out of the window fearfully at the ivy vine. They looked at each other for a moment without speaking. A persistent cold rain was falling, mingled with snow. Behrmen, in his old blue shirt, took his seat as the hermit miner on an upturned kettle for a rock. This is how the struggling artists would work. When Sue awoke from an hour's sleep the next morning, she found Johnsy with dull, wide-open eyes staring at the drawn green shade. "Pull it up, I want to see," she ordered in a whisper. Verily, Sue obeyed. But lo, after the beating rain and fierce gusts of wind that had endured through the life-long night, there yet stood out against the brick wall one ivy leaf. It was the last one on the vine, still dark green near its stem, with its serrated edges tinted with the yellow of dissolution and decay. It hung bravely from the branch some 20 feet away up above the ground. "It's the last one," said Johnsy. "I thought it would surely fall during the night. I heard the wind. It will fall today, and I shall die at the same time." Dear, dear, said Sue, leaning her own face down to the pillow. Think of me. If you won't think of yourself, what would I do without you? But Johnsy did not answer. The day wore away, and even through the twilight, they could see the lone ivy leaf clinging to its stem against the wall. And then, with coming of the night, the north wind was again loosed, while the rain still beat against the windows and pattered down from the low Dutch eaves. When it was light enough, Johnsy, the merciless, commanded that the shade should be raised. The ivy leaf was still there. Johnsy lay for a long time looking at it. And then she called out to Sue, who was stirring her chicken broth over the gas stove. I've been a bad girl, Sadi, said Johnsy. Something has made that last leaf stay there to show me how wicked I was. It is a sin to want to die. You may bring me a little broth now, and some milk with a little port in it. And no, bring me a hand mirror first, and then pack some pillows about me, and I will sit up and watch you cook. An hour later, she said, Sudi, someday I hope to paint the Bay of Naples. The doctor came in the afternoon, and Sue made an excuse to go into the hallway as he left. Seems like your good nursing is winning. And now I must see another case I have downstairs, said the doctor. Behrmen, his name is, some kind of an artist, I believe. Pneumonia too? He's an old, weak man, and the attack is acute. There is no hope for him. But he goes to the hospital today to be made more comfortable. The next, the doctor said to Sue, that friend of yours is out of danger. You won. Nutrition and care now, that's all. And that afternoon, Sue came to the bed where Johnsy lay, contentedly knitting a very blue and very useless woolen shoulder scarf, and put one arm around her, pillows and all. I have something to tell you, White Mouse, she said. Mr. Behrmen died of pneumonia today in the hospital. He was ill only 2 days. The janitor found him the morning of the first day in his room downstairs, helpless with pain. His shoes and clothing were wet through and icy cold. They couldn't imagine where he had been on such a dreadful night. And then they found a lantern still alighted and a ladder that had been dragged from its place, and some scattered brushes, and a palette with green and yellow colors mixed on it. And look out of the window, dear, at the last ivy leaf on the wall. Didn't you wonder why it never fluttered or moved when the wind blew? Ah, darling, it's Behrmen's masterpiece. He painted it there the night that the last leaf fell. Joahnsy and Sue hugged each other with their eyes on the last leaf of the masterpiece made by old Behrmen. Beautiful story, isn't it? Please remember to like, share, subscribe if you've liked the story. And please press the bell icon so that you get all the notifications of this channel. Thank you for listening to the story and watching the video. Your comments are extremely welcome. And I'm grateful for all your love and support that you have blessed me with, showered me with. Hope and trust for them to keep on coming and being showered on me. Thank you. See you soon again with another story to narrate to you. Bye, till we meet again.